Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Sparks. I'm the editor-in-chief of Integrating Materials and Manufacturing Innovation. And today's paper is a perspective piece. It's a brief communication entitled Why We Must Break the World, quite the title, from the one and only Markus Beuhler at MIT. This is such a fascinating, fun read. It's rare that it's a paper that I read and I'm literally like nodding my head and agreeing with almost every sentence in it. It is great. The central premise is this, that we're doing some things wrong with AI for materials and science more broadly. For one thing, we're mistaking retrieval with discovery. And that's not the case. And for another, we're building models that are biased towards interpolation. They are hyper-fitted to a specific set of data. And when something doesn't fit, we just say, oh, well, the model doesn't generalize to that problem. But that should be the whole point. We should be breaking the world, breaking our models such that we find models that fit everything is kind of the concept here, right? So it says here we don't need to summarize what's already been known. We need systems that can assemble compositional world models, so new models, invert the forward problem, falsify their own principles, and then test those principles against simulation and fabrication. Okay, so let's dive into it. He starts with this really great thought experiment. He says, if you trained a large language model on the writings of Newton, right, Newtonian mechanics Newton, then it would tell you that if you dropped particles, if you fired them through two slits, that they would form two little piles at the bottom. But we know from the famous double slit experiment that that's not what happens, right? In the real experiment, when you fire them through, they actually have interference, right? And this interference could not be explained with the old world model. So this nice diagram shows our previous world model, and then we have new evidence, and we have to then revise our model to explain this new evidence that didn't fit the model. That's the concept of breaking the world, right, as he describes it. He says here, the answer, it wasn't hidden in classic mechanics. In fact, it was forbidden by it. And so discovery here is this discontinuity in data. And basically the way that we've been training systems in the past tries to suppress these anomalies where these revolutions could actually live. And he points out you can't interpolate your way to this paradigm shift. And then he sort of mathematically creates his framework. Says, all right, let's come up with a way where we can actually break the world, break former models, and create new models that are better. And he introduces it based off of this operational definition of minimum description length, where literally we're going to create formulas that describe the phenomena we're interested in, and a more concise formula, one with fewer bits, as it were, where bits are like the symbols used to actually describe it mathematically, is a better model. Okay, and so he operationalizes this, describing what the data is, what the evidence is, what the model is, what the new model is, and then a loss function based off of the size of these things, and basically saying, go towards simpler models that can explain more things, essentially. All right, so if that's the concept, how do we achieve that? How do we achieve these newer models? Well, he has this great sentence here. He says, we can build assistants that retrieve and reorganize what we already know, but we need to, in order to build systems that are capable of creativity, discovery, and synthesis, we have to have three things. The first is we have to have compositional world building models. We have to have adversarial falsification, and then we need physical grounding. And he points out through a bunch of examples that these things all exist separately. Really, what this approach is breaking the world is the integration of these different components themselves that should allow now an AI system, as opposed to a specific model, be a participant in the discovery process rather than an orchestrator. Okay, and I love this. He proposes a new unit for discovery. And it's no longer just like a generated answer or an R squared, a predicted property, a ranked new candidate, but rather a unit of discovery is a accepted model revision, some structural change that survives the adversarial pressure and improves the code length of all evidence that's been seen so far. This is so cool. So to explain this with some examples, he starts out with some examples, first off using the concept of forward models that in the past, we built models that could take an input for a material, say the structure, and then predict a property. But what we're really interested is in the inverse problem, where, for example, if you know that a bone has to survive a certain stress condition for a given operation, a movement or an exercise, for example, you work backwards and you say, okay, then what must be the structure of our proteins that make up this in order to survive that condition? That's inverse design, right? And that shift going from the forward problem to the inverse problem is a good example of breaking the world, right? Here it says, the old way was the protein sequence is this, so now tell me what the force versus extension curve will be. But the new way would be, okay, we need this material to have this whatever nonlinear mechanical response. therefore design the protein sequence that does it. And he gives some good examples of this from some tools that they've built in their lab, right? ForceGen basically does exactly this. He has another one which is VibeGen, which does this in a slightly different way, looking at vibrational behavior. But both these are inverse models. So we have ways to build models through this inverse design approach, which has been emerging. What about adversarial falsification? Here, this is really cool. In the section called The Art of Proving Yourself Wrong, he says here that the discovery system should not be asked to just find an answer. Instead, it should be asked to find a principle and then try and break it. And the way that he does this is an agentic approach. He actually has one agent, the explainer, whose job is to try and compress observations into some super simple universal rule, scaling law, or mechanistic account. And then he has another agent, the breaker, and that is its job is to look for counterexamples, hidden variables, or unexplained data that violate this current rule. And I appreciate that he actually put together a really nice sort of concrete case study of how this can be done. It's looking at, again, protein chains, but he describes how, what the system is, what's the data and physics pipeline there, what is the world model. They use a directed acyclic graph for this, and then what the loop actually looks like to sort of build something and then break it and build and break. And what's really interesting, I think, is if you look at this, the predictive sort of R squared, which is what we would have paid attention to in the past, like give me the lowest R squared possible. It doesn't have this monotonic, like just getting lower and lower and lower process. If you look at it, it goes from 0.48, it actually jumps to 0.69, goes down to 0.54, and it eventually goes down to 0.41. So that's non-monotonic. However, at each one of these steps, what does change is exactly what he's been describing previously. The world is breaking. He's coming up with a model which can be compressed, right? The directed acyclic graph gets compressed and the accumulated evidence in strictly fewer bits than what the prior DAG would have had. Really cool example of forcing your model to generalize in a mathematical framework that actually operationalizes this. The last interesting thing, in my opinion, on this paper is this idea that nature can't be fooled, which comes from a famous quote by Feynman, right? And he points out that generative AI is definitely able to flood us with plausible sounding, very confident sounding things that might be hollow text or not actually novel or not, violating physics, right? And hence he says Feynman's warning still applies. Nature can't be fooled. While humans, our ability to read a paper and not know if it's BS or not, nature doesn't care about that. And therefore, we need to prove everything with physical grounding. I love this. AI scientists cannot live entirely in probability space. Sorry, computational material scientists. We got to do some experiments too. A thought in the model is only a hypothesis until it survives the test of reality. I love that. So how do we test it? Obviously, that doesn't have to be just physical experiments. It could be simulations, DFT, finite element, electrodynamics, but also imaging and eventually automated prototyping with self-driving labs is clearly going to be a key player in allowing the scientific loop to run faster and faster. This is a great paper. I can highly recommend it. It's filled with interesting case studies and tools that they've built in their group, but more broadly speaking, it is a philosophical one that is helping us think about the way that we can actually go beyond just designing new materials to actually participating in scientific discovery, and that might well mean breaking our worldview. I hope you'll give it a read. It's in the latest issue of IMMI.